Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Football Manager Projects, where we are playing with Ingolstadt 04 in the Dritte Bundesliga. We're doing this hardcore mode. As you recall, hardcore mode means that we have no stars, we have no attributes. We go based on what our scouts tell us and what our coaches tell us. And with that, we'll bring you straight back into the game screen. And after that awful performance last time, we have a transfer to report. I did find our favorite, now departed striker, Testrit. I find him and took a look at his performance and figured there's no reason for us to keep this guy around. We have other strikers in the first team. When I look back at his history, I'm not seeing a player that played particularly well, not in the Zweite Bundesliga. A little bit better at this level back in 2015, 2016. He's 31 years old now. He couldn't score with the attack that we had before, so I have some big questions here. We'll take a quick look here at the tactics screen as well. I just made one adjustment. I put the Mazzala on attack instead of having him on support. I suppose I could probably do something to take the advanced forward back a little bit more. And we'll sort of see what happens. I'll do a little bit of research as we go along and see if we need to do something or not there. Now, I do have some unfortunate news for you. This unfortunate news is that we are playing in the Deutsche Pokal next against Union Berlin, who are in the Bundesliga, which tells me that this might not be quite as successful as we were hoping. But we'll see. They're in pretty bad form. I don't think that they're a particularly good team. So we'll see how it works. We have a little bit of rotation here, but not as much as we probably should. Hemke makes his first appearance here as the Mazzala. You'll recall that he's a player that we brought in very, very recently. And Suleimani, I think I'm saying that right, is finally off of his injury and ready to play for us there on that left wing. That left wing where we really still need a little bit more depth. As you can see, though, he also can play as a striker. I think he's a good player. I think that he'll do well for us overall. I like what I'm seeing here. So we'll see what we can do. And on we go to our match. We'll see how this goes. We're really not expected to do much in the Deutsche Pokal, which is why we're going to tell them, let's see what we can do. Is the first goal all important? Of course it is. I'm not certain that we're actually going to put out a good showing today, but we'll see what happens. We always see what happens. We always give it a try. I've decided to keep us on positive instead of pushing for a more balanced or even like a cautious approach. And the reason why is because I'm a little bit concerned that last time in our last match, we had tons and tons of passes. We dominated possession, and yet we really didn't have much by way of an actual shot on goal. We're trying to avoid having that sort of fate this time around. And we'll see what happens. We'll see if Union Berlin give us the ball or not. I have to assume that they have more players who are actually capable of playing at a higher level. And this is where our defense also will really have its first test. That was very good by Neuberg. And Preisinger gets the ball now and hits it over to Butler, who looks like he doesn't know what offense he's playing. And that's the sort of thing we're trying to avoid here. If you watched the earlier save, the Real Salt Lake save, you saw a lot of that, a lot of pushing the ball forward. I don't think we really need to do that with this squad. I want to see these guys have a much more cautious approach and an approach that's a lot more gradual than that. So we'll see what happens here. Union Berlin with the ball again. Up to Knoche, and let's see if that defensive line holds. You can see them going back and back. This is what I was talking about earlier on when we were talking about the tactic. When I look at video clips of Ingolstadt 04 from the relegation season, you didn't see a lot of that. You saw guys further up running back, trying to get back on the ball, sort of like what we had there. But as you can see, we had a man back giving him pressure and conceding the corner. And now we see what our corner defense is like. Corner defense on Football Manager is always a little bit iffy. I have not come up with a system that I particularly care for or enjoy. Lino there, of course, with safe hands. Lino was a great signing. What a great find by our director of football. This is the reason why you have to go and ask your director of football for recommendations. Man, that player would have taken us a long time to scout, would have been long gone by the time we ever got to him. Great signing, and there they are in again, and he's not going to get to that one from Schaefer. Excellent, excellent goal by Union Berlin, and this is sort of the type of game that I was a little bit worried that we were going to run into. Gieselman there with the ball on the edge. We have our two men there in the box, Stevanovic. I've really got to blame not Stevanovic, but Brockelman for basically ball watching and not playing the man the way that he should. There is a question as to whether we should go down to balanced at this point. I'm not certain that would make that much of a difference. They're just going to come at us with the ball. If you were looking for a great performance from us today, you're probably not going to see it. But I don't know. We might do okay. We might be able to pull a little bit something off. We'll see what happens. Khedira to Becker and Brockelman there again with kind of not a sort of a half-hearted attempt to stop that ball. And that's just bad. That's just bad. Who missed the header? Stevanovic there. So both of our center backs have been taught a lesson here early in the early going. And I do think we're going to bring this mentality down a little bit and see what we can do to stop the bleeding. It's always a question in Football Manager that I think all Football Manager players have. And the question is it actually possible to play successfully on a more defensive system? I don't know if I'm necessarily going to say that we have an extraordinarily defensive system here today, or that we should have a defensive system with this club. In fact, I don't think that we necessarily should, but we'll give it a little bit of a test as we go along. This is going to be a much different project and a much different save than you might be used to. Instead of just attacking, and trying to push goals out as quickly as possible, we're going to do some experimenting and see if we can figure out what works and what doesn't. Now, I like that build-up. What Cleon will tell you on View from the Touchline is that all this stuff about player mentality or team mentality on Football Manager is really more about what we're doing right here, how cautiously we're playing, and the sort of decisions that we're making. This is the sort of buildup that we really, really like to see. We want to see these boys move the ball back and forth and make good passes and try to get the ball in good areas to get a meaningful shot off like that from Hemke. Beautiful. His first game of the season. 19-year-old Benjamin Henke comes in and gets the major goal. Oh my goodness, that was nice. And I certainly hope that we can keep this game rendering right as I'm looking at OBS and asking myself some questions about what it is we should be doing in terms of streaming, in terms of recording this content. Give you a little bit of context. I did a little bit of messing around before this game, mostly to avoid what we just saw, which was the choppiness in the video. I don't want to have to play the same game twice, and especially if we're playing somewhat well, as I think we're playing today. We don't want to change anything if we don't have to. Butler's having a hard time there. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to change this, I think, to a deep lying forward role to try to help him link up a little bit more with those wingers on the side. I guess you could make an argument that we didn't need to sell our older player, though I was honestly going to sell him anyway. And we'll put Costley on. Costley's not been very impressive, but we'll see what we can do with him. And with that, we'll go right back on out there and we'll see what we can do. And we're hoping that this computer will last a little bit longer and keep things going for us. You know, as a matter of fact, I'm going to make a quick change here to our preferences, if it allows me to. And let's see if we can get maybe turn our rendering down just a little bit and see what we can do. We'll see what sort of impact this actually has on the game. I'm just hoping that we can get rid of some of that stuttering and some of that sort of unwatchability that we just had a second ago. It's kind of hit or miss, and one of the problems that I have is, you might guess, is that I only have one computer. This is 2019 iMac, and it's not an awful computer, but it's difficult to record on OBS at the same time that you're playing a game as graphically intensive as Football Manager. So, you know, you do the best that you can do, and you kind of hope that things go well for you. We're going to go back to positive mentality, I think. In fact, I could do it directly there from the screen below. I'm just worried that we're getting a lot of the ball and we're just not doing anything with it, and Butler's not doing anything out there either. We'll put Schmidt out. Schmidt, by the way, is on the transfer list. Shouldn't be too surprising if you've watched my earlier videos and you know the sort of way I like to play. We don't want a whole bunch of 28-year-olds sitting around the club who've played at a bunch of other clubs before and who've never really scored goals in the past. Still is a bit choppy, and Suyamani looked like he really just woke up from a long nap. I'm not entirely certain I understand what that was supposed to be, but whatever it was, it wasn't. That's for sure. I'm assuming that you're seeing the same choppiness on the video that I am as I play the game live, and this is just more of the same graphical issues that we've been running into, and we have a problem, but fortunately the Union Berlin strike is wide of the goal. And so we continue marching on forward. Schruck is completely broken, but we're going to keep him out there for the time being. As you can imagine, we don't exactly have a lot of guys on the bench. All we're trying to do here at the beginning of the season is get our scouts to take a look at some other good players that can come in and replace some of these older players and see what we can do. I like Schruck, but I'll be honest with you. He's 28, going on 29. He's a team leader that we're going to look to move on in the near future. I don't think that he's ever going to be a Zweite Bundesliga level player. And assuming that we're moving up at the end of this season, which is what everybody expects, we're going to need somebody else. And here comes Schmidt. Schmidt! And he's offside. Well, he missed the target anyway. So I don't know what we were expecting. You can see this difference here through the choppiness. You can see this difference in our approach as we moved up in mentality. And see, this is the thing with Schmidt. We need to get a player in who can actually score some goals. He should be hitting the back of the net with that, not kicking the ball over the top left corner of the net and over everyone's head into the crowd. Absolutely ridiculous. Almost as ridiculous as the fact that we only have 10,000 fans at this match, a capacity of 15,000. You would think that people in the town would want to come out and at least sort of support us as we play against a Bundesliga side. But who am I to, what am I to say? I don't know exactly what the price of tickets are. I might be off my rocker when I'm talking about that. Here comes the very end part of the game. Schmidt now, we're moving the ball up quickly, which is what happens when you're on that more positive mentality. I'm not certain how much I agree with playing that way, but if it's what we need to score goals and is what we need to score goals, Hemke with a good foul, but that's going to be the end of this match. And Knoche now with the ball will take his time, and always Knoche, and he kicks it forward slightly, and that's the end. 2-1 defeat. We got 1 goal back. I'm happy with the goal that we got back, and that will be it for this. I'm going to fiddle around with more graphic settings before next time, and we will see how this goes. I think that was a little bit harsh. This is the reason why you shouldn't just take what your assistant manager tells you and throw that at them. You might make the wrong decision. And with all of that, if you enjoyed what you saw, please hit the like button. Go ahead, leave a comment below, and subscribe for daily videos. And while you're at it, take a look at the blog. We have a great blog on Substack. I have write-ups of every single one of these games. There's a whole story that goes on between these games. Go take a look. You'll like what you see. And for that and for now, with the Football Manager projects, I will see you tomorrow. Bye.